They can give some comfort if they can put them on another champion. They can look to win out in that 1v1 matchup.
Well, I'll have to wait and see if they manage to give him something strong. At the moment, Azir banned away, Varus taken away. Expect to see Syndra removed. Yuumi has been up near the top of ban lists as well. There's just a few power picks right now. I wonder if we'll see something like the Kayle banned away from Kryze. For the moment, looks like we're going to stick pretty standard here with the Azir and the Aphelios. XL obviously just going alphabetically through their champion list.
Yeah, and still for me, this weekend has been all about where does Volibear sit within the rest? Because it seems like everyone's pretty much in agreement that Volibear jungle is the way to play it, even though last week he debuted as a top laner here in the LEC. But after, scouting out and looking at like high elo MMR bands, which is like Platinum Plus, or you can even project higher than that, jungle win rates are substantially higher. So I was like, wait a second, I need to try this. And all of a sudden I'm playing games on Volibear jungle and he's looking nasty. So I really like his ability to fight early on in the game. And I think even though teams are not banning him, he is popping up as a very safe, blind pickable jungle because you can flex him and because he's just powerful in both roles.
Apparently worthy of a first pick here for XL. They'll lock it in straight away. Lots of AD carries removed from the pool by both these teams. Kobbe and Patrik, two stars of their respective teams, of course, with the Kalista taking away, the Varus, the Aphelios, the Ezreal. We are falling down to that second tier. Things like the Misfortune spring to mind, the Lucian we discussed earlier as well, who hasn't been seen too often.
Yeah, maybe a Kryze as well.
Yeah.
Kobbe has played that one time so far this play. I think it was paired with a DOS Nautilus in the bottom lane, if I remember correctly.
It was into an Ezreal. That was the specific
into an Ezreal, right? Well, can't play it against an Ezreal today, but you also can't play 5 bot laners today, so that's gonna remove a whole lot. Now, Razork on Olaf. We just saw in the last game, Olaf was also taken as the answer into the Volibear. One of the big strengths of Volibear jungle is that his early clear relatively fast because the AoE is relatively healthy with the shields and heals, and his early skirmishing powerful. Now, Olaf does all of those things just simply better than Volibear does in the early game. Now, there is a trade-off a little bit later on because I think Volibear does offer more utility towards his team, but this says that Razork, to me, wants to take more control in the early game.
Yep, and alongside that, they're going to pick the Sett. Expect that to go to Dan in the top lane. We have in the past seen Sett support, but that seems to have fallen out of favor over the last few weeks. Twisted Fate locked in for special, and the Wukong could be support, could go to Kryze in the top lane, could even actually be jungle. That Volibear and the Wukong, slightly flexible, although my expectation would be Wukong top Volibear jungle.
Yeah, I mean, because when you're looking at sort of role distribution, Wukong is a more powerful top laner than he is jungler. Volibear is more powerful jungler than he is top laner, dependent on matchups, of course. But I want to see the Wukong for Kryze. Kryze looked good on that yesterday. Beaten up on Odoamne's Gangplank in the top lane. Now, this is going to be blind pick, so maybe not the safest option for what Misfits want to run some sort of, strong duelist into the Wukong to punish him early on.
Well, I mean, Sett is already locked in, right? So expectation right now is that Sett goes in towards the top lane. Senna going to get taken away by Misfits, so we're not going to see Senna Wukong in the bottom lane. And it does, we're really going to be scraping the barrel of AD carries near the end of this, right? Like, there's a huge amount of bans. Patrik, of course, he's played Sivir already this split. Apart from that, everything... Oh, Kalista. No, Kalista was banned. Yeah, everything else he's played has been banned.
Ashe is available as an option if you want to outrange the Kryze within the lane.
If we're going for like Ashe, go Caitlyn, Draven. We're just going to list all the spots.
I mean, those are a little bit more extreme to me.
Just play Vayne. Just play Vayne, Patrik.
So like if you want to lock in like an Ashe Thresh in the bottom lane, could be a decent
Thresh just got all the way through. Now, that's surprising to me as well. The fact that no one has decided to pick Thresh this early on. Both of the sports play it, or at least have played one game of it. So, a little bit shocked by that. Senna, as we said, was banned from Misfits. Malphite going to get taken away by XL. There's the Rakan ban to stop the Xayah Rakan bottom lane.
I was just about to say that, because I'm like, Xayah Rakan open, and Torre played a mean Rakan game yesterday. Has been a very powerful historical pick for him as well. So I think Misfits catching on to that smart ban.
Importantly as well, it teams up so well with a Twisted Fate who can Destiny in because you can use him as a jumping off point. With a Wukong who can Cyclone in because you can use him as a jumping off point. And with a Volibear, because what does the Volibear need to do? Well, he needs to chase people down, and if you can lock them in place, he then gets onto them even easier. So really like that ban. There's a Blitzcrank ban. Thresh is still available. How has Thresh got this far through pick and ban? He's like he's the S tier. Thresh, Yuumi are the two blindable supports right now.
I'm honestly surprised we got a Blitz ban. Like, I'm just looking at that like, what's going on right there? What are they trying to run? It gets hard countered by the young Blitzcrank down bot side. Now Misfits trying to hide on to whatever support option they're going to be going here with the Orianna in mid. Of course, they see the Twist Fate on the other side, so they can hold on to that one for the time being. And one piece that Misfits comp was missing was reliable engage, because, you know, Olaf can sort of run at people, Sett can sort of do the same. Orianna going to round that out very nicely.
Currently hovering Kog'Maw. Now, this would be quite spicy. Last time we saw Kog'Maw in the LEC was, of course, Caps in finals.
Okay.
And it's locked in. Okay. That's a little bit shocking, I'll admit. And there's the Thresh, which I would love to see. I think Thresh gives Kog'Maw some safety, gives you some disengage, but Kog is still a very low mobility AD carry. Yeah,
so the Kog'Maw is a super interesting pick because we actually saw it a long time ago, right around when Kryze was first released, as like a good answer into the Kryze. People talked a lot about how the build curve looked very nice when Kryze was going for early items like the Ginsu's Rageblade. Of course, now she'll usually go for that tier build, but similar things can be said. And now there's a Jax in the top lane here that's going to be Sett support. Yeah, so Sett support down here bot side. Very interesting here up against the Thresh. And the Jax, which I think is a phenomenal answer into the Wukong. Wukong going to struggle against duelists that can do his job better. Jax does his job better in the 1v1 fights. And on top of that, Jax offers so much in terms of magic damage via his W, via the passive auto attack boosts on his ultimate as well. Dan in a side lane is going to be a serious threat, and also hard counters a Twisted Fate when he's trying to port into his lane and drop a gold card on it, because he just dodges ninja moves, gets away from that one no problem.
That's actually a really interesting pick. Sett support is something we haven't seen too commonly, but that flexibility has always been there for the pick. I like it as well. Gives you good ball delivery for the Orianna if you want to jump on into the backline with the showstopper. XL may have been 5-headed in this draft. They may have been outmaneuvered. Misfits were playing 4D chess while XL were only playing TFT. Let's get right on into it. XL versus Misfits.
I've been told that joke about TFT was out of line, and Medic will no longer be working for the company.
I will say, it was not a moment of negative casting.
It was a positive casting experience. Into the game, XL versus Misfits.
Hold it in, Ender. Hold it in. It's fine. Fine. Okay, so Misfits did set up something up towards the top side here. Not going to be able to spot anyone out. XL have, of course, been known for some of their level 1s ever since Youngbuck joined, who was the level 1 master when he was on Fnatic. So Misfits expecting perhaps something to happen. Just wanted to make sure that no one got caught out alone.
All right, so diving in here, looking at some of these rune choices. I'm already jumping out, looking at the spellbooks in mid lane. Not too uncommon. Cleanse for FEBIVEN against the Twist Fate, but Phase Rush in the bot side for DOS. He's of course going to be splashing in the Inspiration Tree because Hex Flash on Sett so powerful, but this is something you can do. I wonder if DOS is going full movement speed in the Sorcery Tree with Nimbus Cloak, with Celerity and all that stuff. It could be just insane movement speed.
So I didn't get into the game because usually we spectate them. You can actually check, Ender, and I'm going to ask if you could just do that for me right now and see exactly what the Sett is running, because there are a few different options on the Sett. So yeah,
he's got all
Nimbus,
the move speed.
Celerity, Water Walking. I think that was Hex Flash. You've now
so he has Hex Flash and Dematerializer as well.
So I quite like this because the idea is that you get all the extra movement speed, you can chase people down pretty effectively, and one of the major issues with Sett into Thresh is that he can keep you at arm's length with the flay, right? So you try and get in range for the Facebreaker, assuming the Thresh is any good, he just flays you away. Getting that extra movement speed, getting that extra ability to close the gap works, and as you can see there, Joss tries to get in range, can't get there, Torre gives him a nice little Rammus thumbs.
Yeah, I suppose it could also mean you can get out of trades pretty effectively as well once you lay down your combo, because I feel like it's not necessarily the easiest thing to proc. Like if you land the Facebreaker right and you get them into you, then it's going to be relatively easy, but an interesting choice to be sure down towards that bottom side of the map. Now,
definitely makes him quite squishy though. Just thinking more about it, like you need some extra tankiness usually when you're playing support Sett, because you can't get it just through itemization as you usually would. And so I'm a slight bit concerned for DOS later on in teamfights. If he ever showstoppers into a fight, he's just going to get blown up before he can actually have an impact.
Now, back when we saw a lot more Sett supports, the first item you would usually go for was a Gargoyle Stone plate.
Yeah, you'd usually rush Gargoyle.
So you can try to mitigate some of those pains by taking that and also, stacking up your W when you're soaking up a lot of the damage when the Stone plate does go down. But for early all-ins especially, could be problematic.
Caedrel's looking for a fight in the mid lane. FEBIVEN is going to get stunned up immediately. Cleanses special going in with the gold card as well. FEBIVEN unable to get underneath the tower. Caedrel.
Oh, no.
Caedrel decided not to flash and just survives. I thought he was going to go down, but Caedrel understanding his health bar better than I did there as he manages to get out alive.
Clearly, not even close right there. He's going to go ahead and say, but very likely will need to take a base soon, and this is wonderful news for Razork, who has control of the top lane Scuttle Crab, knowing that he's going to win any fight against a Caedrel that walks into him, and also has vision in the bot side river, so he knows Caedrel isn't there, which means he can take this Scuttle Crab, he can then sprint through mid lane, down towards that bot Scuttle. He can even try to push out mid lane, so this is like jungler's paradise. Like, the wave is already pushing, so his mid laner's like, please break the freeze, sir. He's like, yes, of course, sure, no problem. I'll take all your experience. I'm now up 11 CS. I'm going to get wards inside your jungle, and Volibear, you don't get to play the game if we ever look at each other.
In your head, do all mid laners call their junglers sir?
I mean, of
That's
course.
just the
How else are
jungler
they getting a
mentality.
blue buff?
Please, sir, can I have some more gruel, sir? Please, sir, can I have a blue buff, sir? It's
I never
Oliver
give him a blue
Twist,
buff.
but you are the evil jungler who presides over it all. Razork, as you said, will be very happy with how the early game has gone here. Caedrel's already gone back, got himself a chilling smite, but Razork is now looking to take away these razor beams.
And he got the timer on Raptors. He's now here for Special, who has no cleanse. Now, unfortunately for Razork, he is seen, which wouldn't have actually happened if he just fully committed for those Raptors. And I'm trying to get a look. Does Orianna have control over mid lane? No. So FEBIVEN's trying to set up the wave so it pushes in towards him, which makes it a little bit riskier. But while Raptors are being stolen away, Caedrel was trying to make moves down towards that bottom lane.
Razork, though, is going to be able to get back into mid. Looking for the stun card here from Special. Will land it. Razork, though, with the undertow and the flash forward is looking for the damage, and FEBIVEN will take it. First blood, Misfits.
Well, there you have it. FEBIVEN setting up the wave perfectly for Razork to come in and look for a gank. And Special knew that the Olaf was there, his ward that he placed before he actually saw the Olaf, completely useless for him in that situation. So really like the early maneuvering from Razork through the jungle, who, I mean, I wonder if we could even pull up the experience graph, because that would show us how much of a lead Razork has. Right now, he's almost halfway towards level 6. Caedrel still stuck underneath level 5, which is going to be a big deal. When you see that Razork has more experience than both mid laners, you know Olaf's going to have a good game.
You can see FEBIVEN was put slightly behind in the mid lane because he had to go back in the when he got.
No, he's just playing properly, buffing up his jungler.
Yeah.
It's funnel League of Legends.
He's now caught up, so he's fine as he catches the wave underneath his tower. Level 5 for him. Kryze almost level 6. And let's talk a little bit compositionally about how these teams are going to work, because we got through the draft with a few surprise picks and we didn't really touch on what we expect to be the developments as the game goes on.
Yeah, so one of the things that Frost was actually talking about a lot on the desk was like which comp is in theory easier to execute. And I actually think Excel have a lot of good things going for them when it's like how you approach a team fight is very straightforward, right? You're going to have a Wukong coming in on a side and then pretty much everyone just running straight face first towards Misfits, where you have pick tools with Twist Fate and the Thresh, and then of course Patrik's range is going to be a massive benefit against 3 melee champions and the very low range Kryze. So that immediately steps out as a problem for Misfits in the 5v5, is they're going to get outranged by that Kog'Maw very heavily, and they don't really have the tools to set up for Orianna to threaten onto that Kog'Maw either. Now, where Misfits are going to be very strong is their dueling around the Olaf that's been hyper-fed already and is level 6, how they can transition that into a very early Drake, and the later we get, Dandan's impact in a side lane, because we already said Twisted Fate cannot match into that at all because his first gold card is going to be completely ignored. And also, once the Blade of the Ruined King comes through, once we start getting towards, Trinity Force as well for this Jax in the top lane, he's only going to accelerate past this Wukong in the 1v1.
Could even go Death Dance if he wants. Sure. The Jax third item would be pretty powerful. Make him done well unkillable in some of these fights.
One interesting thing, so this is a change to Death Dance a while ago, I think even before the actual build path changed, is that Death Dance is not just healing off of auto attacks or physical damage. It's all damage, which includes the magic damage that Dandan's going to be dealing with in his kit. So that's one of those cool little optimizations that not necessarily everyone knows about, because those changes came in fairly recently.
Yeah,
in the last year.
And also, that's the sort of small subtext that people glance over. Like when you sign a contract, it's like, all damage, some damage. It's the same little thing.
It's like when you buy items, you always, it's like when you
actually has
you scroll to the bottom,
and people don't read through it. Yeah. Just auto accept. I do want to bring attention to the fact that Kryze has built up a slight CS lead here in the top lane. There's a wave pushing in, but Kryze should be about 10 farm or so ahead. So early on, this Wukong is having an okay time, but as you've said, the Jax makes it harder later.
Exactly, and one thing that I noticed Dan did a little bit earlier is he's actually sort of stealing away one of the Krug spawns from Razork. So Razork saying, hey, I'm going to be actually playing around that bottom side dragon. Go ahead and take that. So while Kryze was farming up a storm, Dan was able to pick that up, and now Razork says, hello, Caedrel, I'm level 7, you're level 6, I have more items than you, and I have friends.
It looks like Exo want to fight. Looks like Exo want to fight because Patrik is here as well, and Caedrel's going to try and step forward. Kobbe is not here yet, as you say. Kryze not here either. The hook comes out. FEBIVEN stunned with a gold card, but Torre can't quite land the hook. The smite comes down as Razork secures the Rift Herald, and Exo will just back away. Can't fight this one. And no need to after the Herald has been secured by Misfits.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate there for Excel. So Caedrel had the idea of, I'm going to try to sneak away this Rift Herald before Misfits can get their reset off and get towards topside, which was a good idea because Kobbe was late on the reset and that move up into the top lane. But unfortunately, because of this jungle matchup and the way early events in this game transpired, Razork has a lead, so he can single-handedly force him off of that objective. And now that just means Razork doesn't actually fall behind. He didn't actually spend any time wasting it on the Herald. Razork going to continue to maintain this lead, and Excel weren't able to trade it for anything else around the map. Misfits feeling very good after that exchange, and Dust flashes to trade that one with Patrik.
Dust, of course, will have the Hex Flash. You can see the extra movement speed that Dust gets there as he tries to chase people down with the Nimbus Cloak. It's a strong start so far for Misfits. They are currently sitting at 3-3, about the middle of the table. Of course, a win here would actually rocket them up into tied second place with SK and with whoever wins out of Fnatic and G2 later on. So, tied third.
Third place, right, because you have Mad and Rogue
tied third, technically. But I think Misfits have been underwhelming to me so far this split. They haven't shown the brilliance of, you've got Kobbe and you've got this world-class bot laner you need to really be challenging. But they are still ticking along. They are still picking up wins here and there.
Right, it's just the LEC confusion, right? Because
so
their game one, even though they lost it to Fnatic, they were so ahead for so long, they're like, oh yeah, this is for sure going to be a good team.
And then they lose to Rogue. Yeah. But actually, if you look back at it, right, they lost to Rogue, and I'm like, okay, Rogue, middle of the pack, usually near the bottom of playoffs. They're not. They're top of the table. They then lost to SK, and I was like, okay, SK usually lower down, so it's not a good loss for Misfits, and it's actually, well, SK are really good as well at the moment. So, although they did just lose to Vitality, who knows?
No one has any idea what's going on.
Stop talking about who's beating who and start focusing on the game. As Dos gets caught out, the Haymaker comes out. One more order will be enough as he ticks away, and Patrik gets it. However, here comes the killer instinct. Kobbe jumping in, gets his kill onto Kog'Maw. And now with the Ragnarok ticking, Razork is looking to dive the turret, but here comes the Destiny, and they will try and focus down.
It got cancelled!
It was cancelled!
Wow!
The Shockwave cancels it, Kobbe flashes away, Razork takes the kill, and Misfits get the hell out of there.
Febi MVP right there, interrupting the Destiny gate. I think he chucked a ward over the wall when he needed to land that one on towards Special. Had a little suspicion of what was going on right there, and that's going to mean Misfits come out on top in the overall exchange, which is a very big win, because at the start, it looked like it was just going to be an easy pick on towards Stoss, who again, with the phase rush, not as instantly durable as had he had the aftershock, because I do think he got the CC with the face breaker right there, but wasn't enough in the end.
Misfits do have about an 800 gold lead, and we'll have another look at this as I think...
So this is just pure timing, right? Torre sees him as he's channeling the hook, but very nicely played from him. Now remember, Patrik doesn't have flash, so that's why we're just diving in here with the level 8 Olaf, which is very big. And then I want to see what happens around that Destiny gate. I love this. Really Thanks for taking us over, observers. I appreciate this one. So Special is seen on the minion, I believe, right there, which sets up FEBIVEN.
And then, of course, the ball gives you the vision as you go across, so FEBIVEN knew to use the shockwave.
Now, Special... Could have just
done it here. Could have just done it under tower.
And maybe he's like, oh, I can't get close enough if I'm down there, but he knows where FEBIVEN is because he has the ultimate, and there's a ward there, but it doesn't matter.
Kryze coming in, Caedrel coming in. That is the most obvious acceptance of one's death I have seen in a long time. It's just like, hey, yep, you got me this time. I'm not going to burn any summoners.
And how did they sneak through there to actually get FEBIVEN? Because Febi had Razork and DOS in that bot side jungle, so Kryze came out of nowhere. He's like, I can play down here, I'm super safe, we're going to have this no problem. But a great move from Kryze and Caedrel working together to make that pick happen. And while the Herald goes down bot side, it should end up being traded for the top lane turret with solo plates on Patrik.
You can see XL realize they're slightly behind the play because they're accepting that they lose the Dragon and lose first turret because of the Rift Herald. They will get a lot of gold on over to Patrik, though, and I'd love to see exactly where we are in terms of total gold on these AD carries, because they are being funneled. You can see 5,000 gold on Patrik, 5,600 sitting on Kobbe. So Kobbe still has that lead, but Patrik is getting towards, you know, that first, second item. There's a huge discrepancy in jungle, as we've expected. Razork, you know, 33 CS up, and the extra kill means he's in a really good position.
Yeah, that will start to mean less and less as Olaf starts to sacrifice his camps to give him over to Dan and the rest of the crew. I mean, so there's just no vision right there. So Kryze comes in the same angle that actually, I believe it was Razork found the gank earlier on towards Special, because all the wards were in the river, and then his jungle and his support were down towards the red buff. They didn't actually have that ramp approach spotted off there, so Febi just going to accept his fate, not use the flash or the cleanse.
I know you like to talk about items, Ender, and I have an interesting discussion to have with you here, because what we have seen from most Oriannas, humanoid in particular, is Tier Rush, Seraph's Rod of Ages. What we are seeing here from FEBIVEN is GLP Rush, and it is a build I've seen in the past, but I really want to, just in case there's no action, I really want you just to like enlighten me on why you would go either one. Yeah,
so I actually think you can go all three items, because I have seen some Ludens, although it is falling a little bit off in popularity. I'm waiting for just a second, because it looks like we're about to see a fight.
I started the discussion, it's like, ooh, Razork going in, looking to fight here. Here comes the teleport. Ragnarok is being used. Doss with the showstopper, trying to catch out Torre already. Patrik is dead, and there's no damage left for XL. They lose 2. Kryze comes in very late. The counter-strike from Dan won't land, but he can still leap forward, get stunned over the wall by Special. Misfits get control over the Rift Herald and control over mid.
XL not having a lot of luck fighting around the Rift Herald. Second time in a row. This time, though, results in their immediate death, and Special doesn't really have the wave clear to deal with this. They're going to need to call
Kryze is ult. Here comes the Stormbringer as well. Kryze going in. FEBIVEN caught out. Flashes away with the cleanse as well, but the Destiny is going to chase him down. And here come the rest of XL. Not willing to give this one up without a fight. They leashed it last time for Misfits, and they are having Misfits leash it for them this time. That's a difficult sentence to say. The Rift Herald is now going to get taken by XL.
So this is a really interesting sequence of events, because I think Frost actually hit this so perfectly on the analyst desk, where she was saying Misfits don't play the map at the same level that XL do, and it's not like it's a massive gap, but you can see it right here, because XL take a bad fight at the start. Like, no doubt about that, Misfits able to come up clutch in this one, pick off Patrik, come in from multiple angles and finish that off before Kryze enters the fight. But coming out of this play is what is so important, because Misfits try to take everything. They've got 3 people in mid lane, they've got 1 person on Rift Herald, they've got 1 person in the top lane, and XL say, wait a second, we actually have a 3v3 right here. We win this, we have the ults to be able to jump on you and get the kill. And then the cascade comes through, because now Misfits, Doss realizes he's low, Dan figures out he has no mana. Kobbe's like, I'm just trying to push a wave up here, guys, I don't want to fight. And now they just leash the Herald back over towards XL, and things turn out fine.
Yeah, overall XL actually come out on top of that, but flank here from Doss as he's looking for that showstopper. Doesn't quite have it up yet, still on cooldown. There's the face baker. Kryze going to get caught out, and there's the showstopper, and there goes Kryze. That is something that Sett support does give you, the ability to Killer Instinct onto the fight. Dan will take the turret. Kobbe is in a very strong position, 2-0-2 now on this Kai'Sa.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, Misfits still in control around the map, should be looking to finish off this third outer turret very soon. But at the same time, I'm wondering, like, do XL try to force something again? Because Special is moving over. It is technically a 4v4 situation, and a good hook lands.
Hook into gold card.
He still has ulti, though, waiting on that, very patient.
Patrik doing that percent health damage from the Bio-Arcane Barrage, but won't be able to chunk out Razork yet. He only has the Blade of the Ruin King complete. So that Kog'Maw nowhere near his full power, nowhere near the tank shredder that he will become as the game goes on.
Tanks are not going to be having a lot of fun in this game, honestly. The more I look at it, when you have Kog'Maw versus Kai'Sa in the bot lane, they're both doing like such a mixed profile of damage, magic, and physical too, but Dan in the top lane as well, right? Like, there's a lot of different damage types running around, and that's going to make it really painful, I think, especially for Caedrel, who we're seeing go very early on for armor. That's just not that effective against a Kai'Sa, you know, and whatnot. So not as beneficial for him right there. Still waiting to see what boot options come through for a lot of these guys. XL have just sort of given up on that. They're like, let's just zoom around the map a little bit faster with 3 swiftness boots, which I definitely respect on melee champions. Just try and reach the backside.
I quite like it into Orianna as well because you remove that slow from the command dissonance, right? Well, you don't remove it, you mitigate some of the slow.
I promise we're going to have the GLP discussion a little bit.
I'll be honest, the game's kind of moved away from it, right? Like, I understand why you get the Super Soaker, it gives you more zone control in a team fight, you can get some slows, you can get some chase potential off, it really helps the Sett as he tries to engage, really helps the Jax as he tries to chase people down, and here comes the Shockwave in the mid lane as Torbe is caught out, but he's going to land the hook. Manages to back himself away in the lane. Kryze looking for the flank potential here on Razork, but it's not really the target you want. You want Kobbe. Dos stepping forward, looking for that showstopper special. Counter-strike stuns him up, but he's going to pop the gold card back. There's the showstopper. It's actually Caedrel with the Stormbringer, who's going to get himself away. There's too many things that look like suplexes in this fight. It's like watching WWE. So confusing. Dos now going to step forward. It's like going to the theater. There's still a showstopper available. Kryze going to pop his clone. Has the Cyclone. What else have we got? Destiny Gate. Patrik still has his ult as well, of course, as FEBIVEN's Shockwave is almost back on cooldown.
Yeah,
after
this is just madness
the last fight
right now. And FEBIVEN gonna have that very soon, as you said, but very little mana on Patrik as well.
Dos has the flank, Dos has the flank, he has the face breaker as well. Look, the Haymaker gets a bit of a shield, but he's gonna get forced back. Kryze is in the pit with Dan. He's trying to dodge away with the clone. Patrik flashes away from the Shockwave, and here comes the Cyclone in the middle of the pit. But the Ocean Dragon's down to about 2,000 HP, and XL are not willing to give this one up. They look for the fight, but instead Misfits take it, they get out, XL retreat, and in the end, no one dies, and a dragon falls.
Madness ensues inside of the pit. The smite was terrible. It could have been stolen away, but XL not going to end up risking it all around that objective, which means 4 minutes, 45 seconds away from Misfits being able to procure themselves an Ocean Soul, which is absolutely massive for their team. And I mean, XL, it feels so weird because you look at their hard engage options. What are they really? You're trying to play off of good hooks or a gold card, someone from Misfits getting too close to you, and that works when Misfits are running at you and you're just trying to fight out in the open. But when Misfits are actually just, bunched up around an objective, they're doing very good things trying to zone XL away, especially with that Orianna. The ultimate, of course, burned 2 flashes, I think, from both Kog'Maw and the Thresh right there. And the GLP as well to try and keep those players at bay.
It's been a bit of an odd one so far. 1,600 gold the lead for Misfits. Ginsu's complete on Kobbe. He is going mostly magic damage with the Stinger. Expect that to be a Nash's Tooth next on the Kai'Sa. As you said, like Jax is giving you physical damage as well. Olaf gives you physical damage. So mixing that damage profile up makes a lot of sense. Dos here as Misfits start up the Baron.
Okay.
Wait, does Patrik know? Where is Dos? He's moved away. He's gone up towards the top side of this fight. Destiny comes out. Kryze has teleport to rejoin this. Destiny not going to get in here yet. Dos get chased away. Caedrel had the lantern but flashed earlier. There's the TP in from Kryze. The Baron still available. They're committing for it. 1,000 HP left on him. The Caedrel doesn't have flash, can't get in there. Showstopper's going to take him away. In goes Kryze. In goes the Stormbringer. And now the fight's really going to start. But Kobbe chops over the wall with the kinetic. Wukong is still going to try and chase him down as Kryze is getting taken out by Kobbe. He dodges around, can't get him. And now Patrik is caught out on the back line. Misfits get the Baron. Misfits get 2 kills, sorry, and they're looking for more as they force Special and Torbe onto the wrong side of the rift.
And at the same time, Kobbe's pushing in mid lane, so maybe XL can turn this around and find a kill. But there's the dodge you were talking about from Dan. Dan does not get stunned up by the gold card. Buys time for Razork to continue this chase down, while again, Misfits have Kobbe in mid and Dos in top lane trying to knock down some bonus towers.
So this is interesting because, okay, give him the lantern, please, Torbe. That was all. The thing is here, you're actually staggering your own resets as XL, right? And if you can survive the entire time, it's fine. But if you now get caught out and die, XL have to play at a numbers disadvantage for a while.
Well, look at this. Kobbe has a flank.
Oh,
they're wolves. They're just wolves. They're not wolves. They're real people.
It's not Halloween yet. You can't put on a fancy costume and pretend you're a wolf ender. Special here does have the lantern, but he's not going to want to take that one. Torbe goes down, and Special... Well, that's indicative.
Go Misfits.
Yeah, it's just indicative of
wrong team, buddy.
So far.
That is a shame. And this is exactly what you're talking about, Medic. The staggered recalls, because they both died. We're now 30 seconds on Special, the mid laner for XL, and Misfits are like, wait a second, we actually don't even need to take a reset. We're going to take a free turret down in the bottom lane. Probably reset after that one, but that means they're going to have about a minute remaining to try and knock down an inhibitor tower. And maybe they even keep going, because it's still 15 seconds before Special spawns.
FEBIVEN's been able to get his reset, has a Banshees. You could look for this. Kobbe is so strong comparatively to Patrik. Patrik doesn't even have second item yet. Kobbe is sitting at 2.5.
I think you back out of this. Miss one,
Yeah.
Misfits looking for a little bit bonus right there, because again, I think their primary objective is the Ocean Soul at the end of the day, which they need to get their resets through. They steal away a red buff, which is great. Maybe they can populate some wards in that bot side jungle and be A-okay for that objective, because now Excel are in crunch mode. They already lost the Baron. They're about to, you know, throw it all down around an Ocean Soul fight, and if they don't come out on top of that one, it is looking real bad for them. So honestly, in this fight, all I was looking at was the duel between Kobbe and Kryze. So I have no idea what happened on the bottom side during this one, because Misfits make the difficult call to say, we're committing to this. And Misfits have had problems around Baron in the past, but this time DOS plays it exactly like he needs to, pulls Caedrel away from the pit, so the smite is able to come through, and Misfits secure that one. But then Kobbe goes over the wall and then uses this bush where he has to control wards. He knows Kryze doesn't have vision, then pops the invisibility to get that final auto attack down. Is a big win for him. Meanwhile, bot side, whoo, DOS hits 3-4 people with that face breaker. Whatever it was big, but by that time, Misfits probably already won the fight.
The thing was that, like, Patrik is just locked up in close proximity with too many threats for too long, right? DOS gets him with the face breaker. He escapes by flashing. Then Dandan's there with the counter-strike. He escapes by flashing. Then, by running away. And then it's just so difficult for him to ever have time to actually open up and be that machine gun Kog'Maw that you want.
Yeah, especially when Kobbe can just sort of drop a full rotation and almost insta-kill you right there. Yeah. He has finished off the Gnasher's Tooth we were talking about earlier. Gives him a big lead over that Kog'Maw. And, well, XL cannot contest the Ocean Soul. This is bad news.
It's done. And
yeah,
it's done. Let's talk about a different game. Mad Lions versus Rogue, battle for first later on, game 4. In a couple of games' time. They are both sitting at 5-1 so far after taking wins over G2 and Origin and Fnatic yesterday. Who play in game 5?
Playing game 5
Battle of the Meek.
In one of those, in another important game. So
much League of Legends all the time. So many important games. Every game counts. Watch the LEC today.
All right, is this an advert now?
See, the problem with it being an advert is I'm advertising the show people are watching on the show people are watching.
Yes, they'll come back next week.
That's true. That is the hope as the hook lands onto Razork. He's going to be able to get himself away. No Baron available for Misfits, so instead they're just going to try and crack this bot lane inhibitor tower. Hook's going to land, but it really doesn't do too much. Razork's very happy to gobble up those hooks and stop them from catching onto his backline. The shockwave comes in, but Kryze has been able to get on towards Kobbe. He doesn't really do enough damage, though, as Torre is just chunked out by himself. Kryze going in, there's a showstopper from DOS. Kryze going out as he falls. Patrik's going to try and open up with the Kog'Maw, but in the end, it's a 1-for-3 exchange. Kobbe's still full HP. FEBIVEN still full HP. And Misfits still well in command of this game. Might even look for the end here, Ender.
I mean, Kobbe's just unkillable here. XL continue to try and dive on in. Kobbe doing big damage. One more auto attack would have been enough to finish off Special, but Special gonna have to wait inside the base. Patrik doesn't have the mana to maintain the barrage coming through right there, so we'll be able to push Misfits off the base for now, but inhibitors down. Misfits looking very good in this one. We'll watch the fight one more time, because again, it really is like two battles sort of going on. One is, you know, how can Excel jump on Kobbe? Is he killable in the backline? The other is Razork and DOS causing so much havoc, making it so Special and Patrik can do almost nothing. Because Kobbe on the right side of the fight uses his ult to be able to kite out. It looks great for him. On the other side, Dan buys enough time and is able to survive at the end of it all. So it is a numbers advantage coming out of it for Misfits, which means they get the inhibitor on top of that.
You can see, though,
yeah,
like, if Patrik is left unattended for too long, he will be able to take over this fight. The problem is, his frontline doesn't survive for long enough. His frontline can't lock down people.
I'll also say, like, Kog'Maw's percent HP damage, and Razork went for a Warmog, so he's just like, hey, buff your damage numbers. I'll make you look like a really good ADC this game. Like, that's my job.
I will say, if I was going to pick an ADC to buff the damage numbers off, I think Patrik is a strong contender. He's a very good AD carry generally. DOS looking for something here, but it's not going to be able to find it. And you see, that's 3 autos. There's 3 autos on DOS. Kog'Maw does a lot of damage, but now with the Baron up, Misfits are just setting up around it. They have that Ocean Soul still ticking them up. They have a 7,000 gold lead, and the Destiny's going to come in from Special. But he's now flanked by that teleporters. Misfits look for a little bit more of the action.
Hey.
Dan is just splitting off towards the top lane as Misfits have started up the Baron, and there's no vision for XL. The Firesight alteration will get them some.
I mean, I don't know what XL are going to be able to do here, because they don't have vision, and again, they can't actually claim any territory. You know, they have to use the Destiny to be able to spot out where Misfits are. They don't have the hard engage tools. They don't have, quite frankly, the power at this moment into the Ocean Soul team to be able to do much of anything, and there's no healing reduction for this squad either, which means that with Blade of the Ruined King in the top lane, all the sustain they're going to be getting from this Ocean Soul, it is not being mitigated one bit, and we know how powerful that Ocean Soul is. You just cannot fight into it.
So 2 Executioner's Callings have been picked up.
Oh, did those just come through?
So Kryze had his, I believe, and the other one on Patrik was just picked up. So I'm not going to blame you for that. Look at the screen sometimes, Ender. Helps. Patrik is going to get lanterned away by Torre, and you can see Misfits just forcing their way into the XL base. Kryze going to try and jump in. The Shockwave flashed away from Patrik, but he's already half HP, and he's going back to the bouncing, limping his way, injured and alone, back to base, try and heal up for one final base defense. But Misfits doing it by the numbers. They will get the 3rd inhibitor. DOS goes in, Showstoppers Kryze out.
The lantern.
Yeah, DOS is just locked up there for quite a while. But here comes Kobbe. Very greedy there as Patrik is just unable to get the damage in. I thought it was greedy. Dandan's going to jump in as well. Good play away from Torre to keep Dandan on the back line, and Kobbe has gone down. Caedrel tanky on the front line, but the Nexus Tower falls as well, and Misfits just need one more Nexus turret between them and that win. Their 4th win of the split it would be. Patrik no mana, can't pop the Biocane Barrage. Can't do too much about Misfits. Dandan stepping forward with the Counter-Strike, stops all of the Kog'Maw's damage from coming out. There is the Shockwave, and there goes the Nexus. Misfits